Michael Fassbender is best known for his roles in sprawling franchises like X-Men and Prometheus, but buried in his filmography is a gritty, heartfelt gem that quietly delivers one of the most nuanced performances of his career. Adam Smith's Trespass Against Us is more than just a crime drama. It's a sobering, complex portrait of identity, family loyalty, and systemic marginalization, told through the eyes of Britain's often misunderstood traveler community. Though released in 2016 and largely overlooked upon arrival, Trespass Against Us deserves a second look, not only for Fassbender's raw performance, but for the way it challenges audience expectations about criminality, community, and what it means to escape a life you never chose. Trespass Against Us shows the traveler community as more than just criminals. At its heart, Trespass Against Us is a story about a man trying to break free. Fassbender plays Chad Cutler, a second-generation criminal raised in a tight-knit Romani traveler family. Bound by loyalty to his domineering, devout father Colby, Brendan Gleeson, Chad lives on the fringes of society, dodging police surveillance, struggling to provide for his wife and young son, and aching to escape a cycle of crime he never asked to be part of. What sets this film apart from other crime dramas is its empathy. While many depictions of GRT, Gypsy, Roma, traveler, communities are steeped in stereotypes, Trespass Against Us refuses to flatten its characters into caricatures. It never excuses their crimes, but it asks the audience to understand the roots of their behavior: poverty, institutional bias, and generational entrapment. Chad wants better for his son. He wants education, stability, and peace. But in a world where the police assume guilt by association and even family demands loyalty to a broken system, wanting change isn't enough. The film forces us to see just how hard it is to break free when every door out is bolted shut. Fassbender and Gleeson deliver career-defining performances. Fassbender's portrayal of Chad is layered with quiet desperation. He's a man torn between two versions of himself: the obedient son who can't say no to his father, and the father who can't bear to see his own child fall into the same trap. His chemistry with Gleeson, playing the stern and manipulative Colby, creates a rich emotional tension that carries the entire film. Their dynamic is not just about conflict, it's about legacy, belief, and fear. Colby sees the outside world as hostile and corrupt. For him, rebellion isn't courage, it's betrayal. Chad, on the other hand, is caught in a moral tug-of-war, trying to rewrite a future that was scripted long before he was born. The supporting cast, including Lindsay Marshall as Chad's fiercely protective wife, further deepens the narrative. Their performances bring to life a community defined not just by criminality, but by fierce loyalty, aching love, and a refusal to be erased. Inspired by a real crime family, but grounded in real emotion. The film's realism is rooted in its origins. Trespass Against Us was loosely based on the notorious Johnson family, a group of Romani travelers in Gloucestershire who were tied to dozens of high-profile heists. Director Adam Smith and screenwriter Alastair Siddons originally encountered the family while working on documentaries, eventually crafting a fictionalized story that retained the raw honesty of the people they met. The Johnsons were no saints. Their crimes, including thefts from stately homes worth millions, were widely publicized. But their story, like the Cutlers, was one of survival as much as crime. Their children faced suspicion at school, their homes were raided, and their culture became fodder for tabloid headlines. In dramatizing these tensions, Trespass Against Us highlights how even the most defiant criminals are shaped by the cages society builds around them. Critics miss the point. Trespass Against Us doesn't glorify, it humanizes. At the time of release, some critics accused Trespass Against Us of romanticizing crime. But that reading misses the entire message. The film doesn't glamorize the lifestyle. It shows its decay, its traps, its generational costs. It doesn't offer redemption arcs or easy answers, only hard choices and heavier consequences. What the film does offer is something far rarer, a look inside a community that is typically ignored or vilified. It invites viewers to ask why these cycles exist, who benefits from keeping people on the margins, and what it actually takes to change. A quiet classic waiting to be reclaimed. In an era of overproduced crime thrillers and formulaic redemption stories, Trespass Against Us is refreshingly honest. It's a slow burn, yes, but one that leaves an emotional mark. With Fassbender and Gleeson anchoring the drama, and a script that values empathy over spectacle, the film remains one of the most criminally underrated entries in modern British cinema. If you're looking for a film that challenges assumptions and shows the cost of loyalty, fatherhood, and breaking free, Trespass Against Us is well worth the revisit. Nearly a decade later, it remains one of Michael Fassbender's most human and most important performances.